1, 2.
Hello, welcome to Real Reds Talk. I hope you're having a really good... Is it Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. It is very, very warm in the UK, so excuse me if I look a bit sweaty in my pasty complexion, but I am joined by my younger brother who is probably suffering as much as I am as a pasty white guy. How are you doing, Nick? How's your Wednesday?
If not even more, Sam. As you know, I am a weighty fellow, so it's very hot at the minute in the UK. The thing is, the UK, they don't have that sea breeze, do they?
No.
So you don't feel no breeze at all. It's just sticky, awful, horrible heat. So yeah,
Manchester
I'm the same.
Manchester Ship Canal breeze, maybe. Get some off the Manchester Ship Canal.
Basically someone like going.
Yeah, just absolutely doing nothing. Yeah, it's all good. On a Wednesday, we're here to do just a little special video, something a little bit different, because obviously we didn't have any content for today's schedule, but we thought we'd give you something anyway, because we're generous like that. There's a couple of news items that have come out. I'm just going to touch on the main one that's come out today before we get into the actual thing, and I'll explain what we're actually doing. Today, something came out. I think it actually broke last night, wasn't it?
Last
really?
night.
Yeah. I put the news post out on Instagram, and it was on our Twitter as well, and it was probably on our TikTok as well, I believe. Michael Knighton, I believe he was a former board member at Manchester United back in the 80s, I think, 90s.
Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, was a former footballer as well, I believe. I think he owned Carlisle at one point as well, so he's been involved in football for a long time. He did an interview with... Do you know who he did the interview with?
Yeah, it was Man United, The Religion.
Man United, The Religion, cool. So he did an interview with Man United, The Religion, and was speaking about, apparently, there is a consortium behind him who are willing to put a bid in for Manchester United in a hostile bid. And basically what that means, a hostile bid basically means that the club is not open to being sold, but someone's putting a bid in regardless. There's a couple of quotes I'm just going to read out, and then we'll get Nick's thoughts on it. As far as we know right now, the richest man in the UK, Sir Jim Radcliffe, is not involved, but they apparently have asked for him to get involved. But as far as we know, he's not involved at this point. Obviously, Sir Jim Radcliffe, richest man in the UK, tried to buy Chelsea, is a United fan, has interviewed on the fact that he's a United fan and would like to own Manchester United. So if he did get involved, again, this goes up another level. At the minute, it's just talks and things like that. But I'll just read out a couple of quotes. Shout out to Severe in the chat. Nice to see you, mate. Let's read out some quotes. So, a couple of quotes I've got is, we are now working on the offer document. Remember, it is a hostile bid. That simply means that the club isn't officially for sale. But my intention is to present these owners with a legitimate and potent and commercial offer to say, you have run out of road, it's time to go, your time is up. My consortium will be placing their bid very shortly. That I guarantee. So from all the words that he seems to be saying, Nick, it seems to be a legit thing that he's going to do it at some point soon. They've not put a deadline in, but apparently it's coming. He did say in the interview as well, he wants Sir Jim Radcliffe to get involved. Whether that happens or not is remains to be seen. But yeah, what are your thoughts, your initial thoughts on it? Obviously, it's very, very early stages, but what are your thoughts on this?
You know what? When I heard that it's time to go, it reminded me of that clip of, the AFTV when the fans outside and he goes, "It's time to go." That's like what stuck in my head as soon as I heard it. Yeah, where do you pick this apart, really? I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much. I imagine a lot of fans, this is music to United fans' ears. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need. But a little bit of mixed feelings about it, because first off, I was like, yeah, this needs to happen, etc., blah, blah, blah. I spoke to a few people and they were saying, do you see what happened with him at Carlisle? He tried putting himself as like a player manager or something ridiculous like that.
What are you doing, kick-ups on the pitch or something?
Yeah, like it was a bit of a shambles with Carlisle. So let's not jump too far into it without a bit of reasoning. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need to do your research on these kind of guys to make sure they're the right guys. Because what's the chance that another set of Glazers could come in and own the club? Do you know what I mean? They could just push them out, because it's a great business opportunity for anyone.
Well, it's
potential.
There is a law in place now because of what's gone on with the Glazers that you can no longer leverage buy out a club. So you can't buy a club on debt or borrowed money or anything like that. So that's now a law in place. So we shouldn't ever have that happen again. But in terms of character and spending, then yeah, you could potentially have that. But into the way they bought the club, you can't have that again, because it's now a law in football ownership.
Well, that will be one because of the independent regulators that are coming in. That'll actually stop that going through. So that, I mean, obviously that's going to stop a Glazer situation happening where they're going to buy us on 600 million debt and then never pay it off. Yeah, but as we all know with the Glazers, they're absolutely stunting the club. The potential of United is one of the biggest in the world, and where we're at right now does not mirror that at all. I've seen in the interview that Michael Knighton was... Is it Michael Knighton? Knighton, yeah. That he was saying he doesn't believe this fan share scheme that they've put out there is legit. He thinks it's a mechanism to kind of keep him in power, and I believe that. I've seen Simon Stone tweet as well that sources well versed within United believe there's little chance of this happening. So there's mixed feelings with me at the minute. Like, don't get me wrong, like every other United fan, like I said, music to me is, I really want it to happen, but I'm very skeptical about it happening, because I just feel like the Glazers have been sat there probably watching that interview and they'd be like, we don't need to sell. We don't need to sell at all. So why should, unless they go in with an astronomical offer, because I believe United's stock value market at the minute is 1.5 billion or something along the lines of that. Chelsea have just been bought for, was it 2 billion, 2.2 billion off Todd Bowman?
4 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have a feeling that if you're going to go in with like a 3 billion offer or 3.5, somewhere around that figure, then, you might tempt him, but I can't see him selling anytime soon. I hate to be the negative one about it, but they've been in charge 17 years now and nothing's changed regardless of what's happened. I felt like the Super League was the closest we got to pushing him out, and then they went and bought Sancho, Ronaldo, Varane, and a lot of the fans bought it, and then they bought the fan share scheme as well. And look, this is where we are because of it. So, yeah, I'm not very optimistic about it, but I would love it to happen, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I think, why would the Glazers sell? They can bleed us dry every single year in dividends. run it like their own personal bank, and just sort of continue to take profit out of the club. Why would they sell it? The only way they're going to sell it is if someone came in and offered them twice what the market value is, or like even more maybe, and that's not going to be the end of the spending. So even if, say, this consortium came in with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they would then have to spend money on the stadium because that needs reinvestment. They would have to spend money at Carrington because that needs reinvestment. And then they'd have to spend money on players because that definitely needs reinvestment, because obviously that's what we're talking about today. So it's going to be more than a couple of billion. It's going to might get up to 6, 7, 8 billion by the time you've sorted all that shit out. So it's going to be after someone or people with considerable wealth to sort this shit out and get this leverage done, because the Glazers ain't letting it go for market price. Like, it's not going for market price. It's going to go for...
I feel like... Sorry to cut you in there, Sam. I feel like for this purchase to have real, legit hope, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe does come in, because he's extremely wealthy, known as the richest man in Britain. I believe he owns like a chemical company. Still owns 2/3 of that, so extremely wealthy. Like you said, supporter of United. I believe he's got ties with Chelsea as well, and I believe he
tried to buy Chelsea when Todd Bowley ended up being the thing. He tried to buy him as well, so...
Yeah, and he currently owns Nice as well, who are doing relatively well for the size of the club. So he's obviously got ties within football. I think if he came in and he was like, look, I'm willing to offer this money to go into it, then I'd have a little bit more confidence going into it. But Michael Knighton coming in with this consortium, I'm not entirely sure if it's going to go through, but I hope it does. We've
seen this sort of thing before. I don't know if you might be a bit too young to remember the Red Knights campaign. Okay. So there was a bunch of rich people. So when there was a takeover attempt happened by B Sky B at the time, and they were trying to buy Manchester United, and I think they were banned from buying it because they said it would be a conflict of interest, because obviously Sky owned the rights to the Premier League. So there was rumours and stuff like that is all a bit dodgy. It was all a bit sort of tricky and weird. And there was a group that came in called the Red Knights who tried to buy from underneath the Glazers and tried to like get the club from this leverage buyout, and obviously the Glazers things happened, and since then there's been multiple rumours and multiple murmurs of this thing, and multiple people saying, oh, I'd buy him, but like, until somebody submits a bid, until somebody like actually goes out and does it, it's all just going to be that rumours. But yeah, I agree with you, unless somebody like Jim Ratcliffe comes in, it's going to be very tricky to get this bid through, unless the Glazers just suddenly decide to go, fuck it, this ain't worth the shit that we're getting for it, let's just get rid and leave.
Well, you think the few positives I would cling on to is the stock market's definitely going down because of the way the club's going, so that it's just going to go plummet further and further and further, because we keep bringing managers in, we keep buying players, it ain't working. The main thing is it's the owners, they're the reason why they're stunting our growth. So that's one positive you can cling on to. If the stock market keeps going down, it might even get to like bottom of the table before they're like, right, we're going to sell. But that's one thing, maybe why they might sell. Apart from that, United, the amount of money they make per season, it's like 500, 600 million. And they take out dividends every single year. So, look, it's going to take a big offer in it.
And I believe TeamViewer have pulled out of the sponsorship as well. Like they've got contracts. And they said they're not renewing. Yeah. So there's a group called the 1958 who are trying to sort of politically get the Glazers out by overrunning sponsorships with negative press and basically telling them we don't want to use you if you sponsor United and stuff, like trying to take money out of the Glazers' pocket. There's also a planned protest on the 22nd of August called Empty Old Trafford, which is the Liverpool game. Obviously, famously, last season we got the Liverpool game cancelled after the Super League sort of fiasco, and we got the Liverpool game cancelled. There's a feeling that we're trying to do something similar. Maybe not get it cancelled, but maybe show the empty stadium to show the Glazers that we're not willing to participate in funding them and putting any more money into Manchester United, and maybe they'll get a message. It just seems to be a small move online right now, but hopefully it gets bigger and bigger, and hopefully that happens, and it's just an empty stadium aside from the Scousers. We'll see what happens though, but I don't hold out much hope until sort of somebody with massive money gets involved in this, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, let's move on to why we're here. We're here to rebuild Manchester United's midfield. we have seen, got for like 3 seasons at this point, Manchester United's midfield has been in dire need of investment, in dire need of the correct, not just big players and spending money on massive players, but the right players. And the biggest hole in this team at the minute is in the CDM position, defensive midfield. We have not bought a defensive midfielder since Matic. Was he like the sort of defensive midfielder?
I mean, yeah, like a specialist if you're talking
about
Matic.
So Matic, and while he was decent at times, I don't think we bought him at his peak. He couldn't play game in, game out. He's like his injuries and stuff like that. So we didn't have someone at the heart of that midfield that could run that midfield. And we haven't arguably had it since Michael Carrick, I would say. I think he was the last sort of great holding / defensive midfielder we had at Manchester United. So me and Nick have gone away and looked at possible midfield replacements that we could come in for McFred, because obviously we never thought we'd see McFred again after last season. And we started the first game against Brighton with McFred. Just before I get into my first player, Nick, just give me your thoughts on what is missing from this midfield and why McFred is so utterly damaging for the Manchester United.
I mean, fucking hell, where'd you start? They haven't got most of the qualities you want in a midfielder. They can't, I'm going to dive into this again later on, but they can't take it under pressure. They can't play a variety of passes. They haven't got anything in the locker when it comes to that. Fred, if you look at Fred as a solo player, I believe he's got individual qualities that he can bring to a team that could, in set games would be positive. But if you watch both the performances on Sunday, my God, that was one of the worst midfield performances I've ever seen. They lose possession constantly. Fred, I've always described Fred as like a cat chasing his own tail, because he wins it back, but then gives it back away straight away. So it's just a pointless exercise. Like, what's that, what Einstein says? The definition of doing the same thing is insanity or something like that.
Yeah, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results.
Yeah, and if you watch that Brighton game throughout the full 90 minutes, they kept doing the same things. And when you're turning over possession like that, even to a team like Brighton, who are quality on the ball, they've got decent attackers like Trossard, Welbeck, who had great games. You can't afford to do that. That's against Brighton. That's a team who's probably going to finish mid-table at best. We've still got Liverpool, like you said before, in a couple of weeks' time. You play Man City, who are just absolutely running it at the minute with Erling. You're giving turnovers like that to Erling Haaland and De Bruyne. I remember Scholes famously saying
we gave it to Brighton, and look what they did. Like, fuck it.
This is what I mean. I remember Scholes saying last season when we played Atlanta in the Champions League, it was. And he said, listen, you might have won the game, but if they play like that against Liverpool, they'll concede 4-5 goals. And what happened? We went and played with Liverpool, and we did. So it's detrimental to a team in midfield. It's the engine room. It's what keeps the attack and the defence together. And if you watch Liverpool, everybody goes on about their attack, how good it is. Everyone goes about the defence with Trent, Van Dijk. But the actual glue in that team and the underrated element of it is the midfield. Because of how well balanced it is. They've got Fabinho, who sits as the anchor, and then they've got Henderson and Thiago as the eights, who both bring different qualities of their own. Leadership in Henderson. Thiago was one of the best technical players I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, it's so gutting to watch him play when we could have had him. Like, he
is fantastic. Like, just watching him from a technical point of view. Look at him, look at McTominay. That's all you need to know. That is it. That's end of the argument.
Oh, disgraceful. Anyways, so yeah, me and Nick have gone out and we've both picked a defensive-minded player, and we've both picked a more attacking / box-to-box type player. I'm just going to read a couple of comments because a couple of them are interesting. United are one of the biggest brands in sport. Even now, there's no way the Glazers are selling. Yeah, I agree with you, Severe. Shreyas, hope for the best. I hope, mate, but we'll see what happens. Dan Shreyas, should we play CDM bingo? Taking a shot anytime. Sans says CDM. Well, that's 2 shots. So start on it, get it going, mate. Get it going. Yeah. So we've picked a defensive and an attacking sort of player because I believe we need both, because at the minute we've got McFred doing both roles at the minute, and neither of them can do either of the roles. Neither of them are defensive midfield, neither is in a more attacking box-to-box. Maybe Fred, in a way, might be a good 8 used in a squad capacity, but I don't think Scott McTominay is up to either of those roles. So we've both gone out and picked someone who could play possibly behind Bruno or maybe Donny or Christian Eriksen. Obviously, Christian Eriksen fits into a lot of roles, but that's the kind of the way I'm looking at it. We need 2 first-team midfielders. So that's what we've gone out and picked. So I'm going to go through my defensive one. Nick's going to go through his. go through my attacking, it's going to go through his, and then you guys in the chat can pick who you like best, or if you want to throw in your own ones, chuck in your old ones. So, first one is Ruben Neves. And there's my girlfriend just coming in. Everybody say hi.
Hi, DC.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Ruben Neves. Obviously, Ruben Neves was talked about for Manchester United since last season. We've had rumours of Ruben Neves.
I'd even say a few years. Even under Ole.
Fantastic defensive-minded midfielder. Obviously plays for Wolves. Just a couple of details on him before I get into the actual stats of him. So he's 25 years old, so great age profile. 181 centimetres, so he's not massive tall, but he's not short either, so he's a good sized guy. Right-footed, plays in mainly two positions for Wolves, so the centre midfield and then the defensive midfield. So his main strengths are playmaking. So he likes to look much like Frankie de Jong. He likes to sit deep, pass the ball, break up play, good at tackling, good on the ball, that kind of stuff, which is exactly what Manchester need right now. That's the kind of player we need. So if I'm just going to get into some of his stats, obviously this is from last year because we've only played one game of the season at the minute, so there's no point in looking at his stats for that. So let me just get this up. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so last season he played 33 games, started 31 of them, which shows how important he is to Wolves. If he started 31 games of 33 in the entire season, that's impressive. 81 minutes per game. Injury record, very good. If he's playing 81 minutes per game and he's playing 33 games in the season, it's exactly what Manchester United need. I'm not going to focus too much on his attacking stats because I don't think that's relevant in this position. It's going to look quite sort of low down, so I'm just not going to focus on that. I will focus on that for the attacking one, but for this one, I'm just going to focus on his defensive and his passing stats for a minute. So, on his defensive qualities, he has 1.2 interceptions per game. Tackles per game 2.1, possession won in the final third 0.5, dribble passed per game 1.9, which is a little bit conservative but not that too much. Clearances per game 1.4, and no penalties committed, and only one error leading to goal. So it's pretty impressive in terms of a defensive midfielder. That's pretty interesting. I'll go look at his passing stats as well. So let's just get his passing stats up here. So per game, he's got 2 assists per game, which is phenomenal for like a playmaker and a defensive man, especially a guy who sits so deep. That's really interesting.
You say 2 assists per game?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yeah.
What? So he's got
on average.
Oh right.
Yeah. So it's like for this season. It's for the season on average 2 assists per game. So over the season, it'll average 2 assists.
Oh right.
Yeah.
It's like 2 assists.
No. Not every game. Not every game. Like 2 assists per game. Averages 71.7 touches per game, 3 big chances created, key passes 0.8, and then accurate per game 49.1. So that's almost 50%, which again, pretty decent record. If I just look at let's look at Scott McTominay for a comparison, just so you can see the sort of difference in the stats.
I mean, 70 touches is heavily involved in it.
Yeah, that is. He's into.
Trust him a lot with the ball.
So if you look at Scott McTominay, here we go, touches per game. So Scott McTominay touches per game 30. Oh, is this it? No, that's this season. Hold on, let me go back last season.
Yeah,
there we go. Passes, touches. Yeah, Scott McTominay's 56 per game. It's like 20 odd less per game in a game. It's like, that's huge when you're in midfield. Like, the midfielder should have more touches of the ball than anybody in the team. Like, that's huge. Accurate per game for Scott McTominay 35%. 35% compared to Neves, which is 50%. Like, that's dwarfing in the statistics. I just look at sort of Scott McTominay's defensive numbers as well. Tackles per game, he's a little better in tackles, Scott McTominay, but possession.
Are they successful tackles though? That's the
it's not clear what it is.
Throw his body in, but it's not clear if he wins it or not. That's
his interceptions are a lot lower at 0.8. His possession won is 0.2 compared to Neves, which is 0.4. That's in the final third, by the way. So you can see the dwarfing class between the two. For me, aside from just like bare statistics, if you would go on the eye test for Ruben Neves, I think he exemplifies what you want in a midfielder. He's hard-working, he's got passion, he's got dedication, all of which Scott McTominay has, but then he has the ability, which makes him stand out from Scott McTominay. He has the ability to pick a pass, short passing, long-range passing. He's always looking forward. That's his first thought. He gets the ball off the defence, and his first thought is look forward, look for the pass, look, who can I feed, who can I get into a position where we can make an attack and we can possibly score. So that's always his first thought. I also think he's got a bit of fire to him, which I think we need in that kind of area. I think we need somebody with a bit of, not like shithousery, but maybe a bit of shithousery, maybe a bit of like hard man type thing. I think we've missed that in the team for a long time. Obviously, Roy Keane's the most famous person who had that. I think Ander Herrera had a little bit of that. Obviously, one of my favourite players. So I think we need that in a midfield team. For me, he's the standout midfielder, defensive-minded midfielder in the Premier League. Obviously, Premier League proven experience. He's had many seasons with Wolves. Portuguese as well, so I think he fits into the team quite well. We've got a big Portuguese contingent. Obviously, Ronaldo may or may not be here, but Bruno, Dalot, there's a bunch of other guys who speak Portuguese as well. Fred, who's Brazilian, so he'd fit. As well. Telles, but obviously he's not here currently. So I think he'd fit into the team really well. I don't think he'd take that much to adapt. I think he'd hit the ground running, which is exactly what we need right now. We need somebody who can just hit the ground running. The one point I would have of not being able to go out and get him is his price point. His price point is going to cost us a lot of money. Wolves put a price on and think, I think it was like 90 or 100 million, something like that, which is obviously absolutely insane and ridiculous for a Premier League player who's playing at Wolves. I think that's absolutely insane. But we're in a position right now where we're desperate for midfield, we're desperate for players, and I think we kind of have to bite the bullet at this point and just pay over the odds for players. It's just going to have to happen. If we would have gone in, if beginning of the season, if we would have gone out and we could have negotiated, maybe we got down to a point and got a nice, decent price. But at this point, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go. We just need people in, pay the money and get the guy in. Maybe if we offered 70 odd million, maybe with add-ons, maybe that would get him in the door. It's a little bit overpraying for the guy, but
the later you leave it, Sam, the more it's going to cost. Yeah, because they've got to get a replacement for him, haven't they?
So
in order to do that, so
I think just pay the money, take the hit, and just get him in the door. Because I think he automatically upgrades and automatically improves Manchester United. That's the only weakness I see with getting Ruben Neves is the price point. And we all know what the Glazers are like. They're not willing to spend stupid money on a guy like Neves because he's not going to sell shirts. He's not going to move merch. So they're not going to spend that sort of money on him. If it was somebody like Declan Rice, they could chuck the money at it because they know that's going to sell. England star, massive profile and stuff like that. They'd chuck the money on that, but they're not going to do that for somebody like Ruben Neves. So that's my pitch for Ruben Neves. If you've got any thoughts, Nick, chuck him in. Why not?
No, it was the spending that I agree with you completely. I think our net spend notoriously is like 80 to 100 million. I remember that summer we brought in Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Dan James, probably accumulated to like 145 mil, but then we sold Lukaku for 70 million to Inter Milan. And then, you end up with like an 80 million average kind of net spend. So going out and spending 70, 80 million on Neves, I don't see the Glazers doing at all. Do we need it? Absolutely. In our squad, absolutely could do with a player like him. I'm a big fan of him. I do. Like I said, he's not me number one choice, but if it got announced tomorrow, it said we're signing Ruben Neves for 60 mil, let's say, for example, I'd be like, cool, I'm happy with that. As long as you still bring in like a De Jong as well, I feel like I'd be happy. I wouldn't just go into the season with Neves alone. I'd want other reinforcements in midfield as well.
That's why we're picking two players, because we need more than just one player.
So he'd be a great addition. I can't disagree with a lot of things you said. There was one stat that stuck out, the 1.9. I can't remember, his dribble past, something like that. That's a little bit worrying.
Yeah,
but
that's the worrying
one. Most of them seem pretty solid.
Just a couple of comments and then we'll get on to yours. Ashley Dallow in the chat. Shout out to Ashley Dallow. I will say it time and time again, Ruben Neves is our best signing. He's what we need. Young, proven in the Premier League. International teammates in the team wants to come. Yeah, all the points that I made. There would be a massive difference too from Shireyas. We could also wait for Kessie, who'll be a free agent in 21 days' time. I mean, if we could if he gets sent up as a free agent and we could snatch him from Barcelona, that would be amazing.
It's not, I don't think, did he say 21 days' time?
I think it's Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. They've got to register him by. And if they don't do that, then Christiansen and Kessie are free agents again.
But that would be great, wouldn't it, if he becomes free agent and we go, yeah, we'll have him. And then if Barcelona just lose the shit, that would be amazing. But we'll see what happens. Nick, why don't you tell us about your defensive-minded player?
Gladly. Okay, so the first option I've gone with is the specialist, let's say, the more defensive one of the pair, the anchor. And the option I've gone with is, drumroll, Marcelo Brozovic, 29 years old, a central defensive midfielder for Inter Milan. Cost probability probably about 40 to 50 million pounds, maybe go up a little bit. Likelihood of getting him, it would be a difficult deal to do because he's just recently signed a new contract, and Inter Milan are in the Champions League, so it would be a hard deal to do. But sometimes you have to pay for overpay for top quality, as we know. We were just discussing it with Neves then, especially when you're leaving it late in the window, and Inter Milan again have got to go replace him. So yes, it would be a difficult deal to do. However, Brozovic is more of when you watch him play, he's more of like a specialist, a regista who would sit and protect the back four. Remember where Matic, for example, played for us when he just sat in front of the two centre-backs as that anchor. That is exactly what Brozovic does, and that's exactly what we need. He's extremely consistent. 35 games played and 35 games started last season, so never got injured. Again, another thing that we need, another quality that we need. And when we look at our current issues in midfield, we lack players who can take the ball with confidence and have the ability to play under pressure, right? Like we were just discussing them with Fred and McTominay. When you look at that, in order for a team to be successful with playing with possession and not getting turnovers and stuff like that, you need people who can take the ball under pressure, who are good in tight areas, who are confident. I've heard things about Brozovic that when he's in the Milan team, he will moan at players even if they don't give it into him in tight spaces. And that's what you want. You need that confidence, and that'll... If you have them kind of players, which is what Ten Hag wants, that breeds confidence then throughout the full team.
It's the total opposite of Scott McTominay, is it? Who hides every time. Instead of showing himself for the ball, it hides behind opposition players.
Yeah, exactly. And you need these habits of players showing for the ball, no matter the situation. Shying away from the ball like McTominay does, puts teammates under pressure, and then leads to turnovers and transitions and etc., which we're terrible at. If you look at someone like Brozovic, he is the go-to man in possession. He conducts the game for Inter Milan and takes the responsibility on himself. He's great at manipulating the ball in tight areas, as I suggested then. And when it comes to passing output, he has 59.7 completed passes. This makes him only second in the league to Sassuolo's Maxim Lopez being number one. As well as great ball-playing midfielder, he has solid defensive stats too. Amongst central midfielders in the league, Brozovic accumulated 1.65 aggressive defensive actions per 100 opposition touches and 2.8 passive defensive actions per 100 opposition touches. In other words, he's just as busy off the ball as he is on the ball. He's not just a ball-playing midfielder.
Hard worker, which is what Ten Hag demands from his team.
Yeah. Now, I thought to give a bit of perspective to this, Sam, I'd do a quick comparison with one of the best in our league. Let's say Fabinho, who plays for Liverpool.
Yeah.
So, Brozovic versus Fabinho, a quick little head-to-head for you. Interceptions per game, 1.1 for Brozovic, 1.4 for Fabinho. Okay, so Fabinho beats him in that. Tackles per game, 2.2 for Brozovic, 1.6 for Fabinho. Brozovic wins. Successful dribbles, Brozovic 76%, Fabinho 73%, beats him again. Total duels won, 54% for Brozovic, 50% for Fabinho, beats him again. Possession lost, 7.9 with Fabinho, 8.3, so he loses it less as well, which is even better. Accurate passes per game, this is what I was impressed with, 93% from Brozovic, 93%. Fabinho was 87, and then I did a little deep dive into the own half and opposition half, as I always do. So, own half, Brozovic has 95%. An opposition half, he has a 90%, which is a big success rate. Then you have Fabinho, who has 91% and 84. Drop off from that again. And then the last two I've gone with is long balls and dribbled pass per game. So long balls, 85% for Brozovic. That's one of his top qualities, what he's best at. Fabinho's got 56%. I feel like getting someone on the ball, if you've got Alessandro and then a Brozovic in front of him, then balls in behind for likes of Sancho, Rashford are just going to be top tier class, and that's exactly what we need.
If Ronaldo stays, ball over the top for him to sort of get his head on. Perfect.
Yeah. He's class. He's absolutely class, Brozovic. And then dribbled pass per game, the last stat that I wanted to look at, 1.0 for Brozovic, 1.6 for Fabinho. Now, as you can see, just on them, he's got better metrics than Fabinho. Granted, some of them, could be swayed by the system or the league that they actually play in.
Yeah.
But he's still got some seriously good stats, and I was surprised by how good he was because I've watched him before. I thought decent player. Then you really dive into it. I obviously don't watch him week in, week out, but from what I've seen, I would absolutely love to add him to Manchester United, and I think he'd be the perfect specialist to sit in front of Lissandro and Varane and dictate play.
Yeah, I think he's hit every nail on the head that we need in this team. Again, the only thing would be price point, because like you said, he's just signed a new contract. Inter are in the Champions League, so why would he want to leave? We've obviously seen that with Cody Gakpo at the minute. He's saying that he wants to stick around if they do qualify for the Champions League. So that's another sort of minus point of the thing. Other than that, he'd be perfect. It's just the Glazers are not going to stump up the cash for whatever he's going to cost. Because if he's just signed a new contract and he was worth, what was he worth beforehand? Do you know? You know what his value was?
If you had 1 year left, you're probably talking 20 to 30 mil.
So he's probably 50, 60?
Yeah, 50 mil easy.
So it's difficult to get someone out with a fresh new contract. It's very, very difficult. The only other thing I would say is he's from Serie A, and Serie A players have a history of not going down well in the Premier League. I think it's less true of midfielders because... Or maybe it is maybe it's the opposite way around. Maybe it's a lot more true because they have a lot more time on the ball in the Serie A than they would do in the Premier League. So obviously, his stats might differ a little bit when he comes to the Premier League, but you don't really know that once you get him in. But I think he's a great... If we brought in him or Neves, I would be super happy with either of those. I haven't got a problem with either of them. But yeah, just the price point with the contract would be my only thing where I'd be like... This is probably not going to happen, but it's the same issue with Neves as well.
And the situation that we put ourselves in at the minute, I don't think we can afford to be kind of picky with these signings. Yes, do decent scouting on him, but even if you think it's a little bit of a risk with Neves or a little bit of a risk with Brozovic, sometimes you have to take them risks because we've got ourselves to near the end of the window now. So it's desperation time, and then like I said before, the clubs are going to have to replace him. So you have to go in with a big bid in order to get these players. Yeah,
for sure. Let us know in the chat who you would pick out Neves and Brozovic. Let us know who you're feeling. Shreyas, he would have been a smart pickup. He's consistent for Inter, really good while playing through pressure, and a true CDM too. Yeah, agree with all that, Shreyas. Hashdal, I have a question for you guys. In all these bads, there is one excellent thing is happening. Can you reply me, please? The question is for you, or including all the anchors. I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
Just if you want to just explain yourself, Ashley, and I'm sure we don't mind answering a question, but I don't know what that question is. But anyways, drop in the chat. Right, should we move on? Let's move on to the next one. My next choice, you've probably seen it on the thumbnail, and obviously he's been linked to United in the last couple of days. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. Oh, sorry. Let me just adjust my spine. But obviously plays... midfielder, plays for Lazio, a more of an attacking-minded midfielder. I think one of his favourite things is to arrive in the box, taking shots outside the box, playing more in that final third. That's where he's at his best. Obviously, we've been linked for him since 2017, I think, when Van Gaal was in charge. It's been linked for him for a long time, but he's still only 27, which makes you think, I thought he'd be older than that because we've been linked for him so long, but he's still only 27, so he's ideally in his prime as a player. I think that's a great age profile, especially for someone who wants to hit the ground running. I think if he was a bit younger, might be 50-50 whether he could hit the ground running. But at 27, I think that's a good age to bring in straight into the first team, get him going. So he's a right-footed midfielder. He plays mainly in the central midfield position, but also plays more of an attacking mid position as well. So he can play both of those roles. Strengths include direct free kicks, which again, we need people who can provide set pieces. Obviously, we've got Eriksen at the moment, but it doesn't hurt to have another one on hand. High pressing fits into Ten Hag system immediately with a high press, and aerial duels, which again we've seen to be shit at when it comes to aerial duels. None of our players seem to be great in the air. Ronaldo aside, obviously Maguire seems to get his head to everything, but then when it comes to defending, we seem to be absolutely shocking and not be able to get anything on it. So. That's great to know as well, so he can sort of put a shift in. We're just going to go look at his statistics. So, that's this year. I want last year. Why is it only giving me 2022 to 2024.
He won the Euro campaign.
That's right. You're waiting for there we go. Serie A. 21-22. There we go. Great. There we go. So, 37 games played. He started 36. So he started pretty much every single game. Again, injury-free. Exactly what we do not need any more injury-prone players. Played the average of 84 minutes per game. So he's pretty much played 90 minutes week in, week out. Absolutely amazing. That is exactly
pretty much the exact same as Brozovic.
Yeah.
Brozovic was 84 minutes per game.
Yeah, we need somebody in the midfield every single week who can play every single game. And it's exactly what you're getting with Milinkovic-Savic. So if you look at, you got 11 goals last season, scoring frequency of 283 minutes. So not the greatest goal scoring record in the world, but again, I think he's more. He's
good for a midfielder.
Yeah, it's not bad for a midfield, but I think again, if you're expecting that more of a goal thing from a midfielder, I think you're looking at more sort of a forward-thinking, more forward-type player. I think midfielder at 10, 11 goals, I think that's round about a decent return. Shots per game, 2 shots per game. Shots on target, 0.8. Again, that's pretty decent record. Nearly one of every other shot is on target, which is a good record. And then we'll look at his passing stats. So he had 11 assists over the course of a season, which is, I think, it's pretty good. 11 goals. What was it? 11 goals? 11 goals, 11 assists. Pretty decent record for a midfielder. Touches per game, 81.2, which is massive. That is a huge number. Heavily involved in play, which again fits into Ten Hag's system immediately. Big chances created, 11. Key passes per game, 1.4. So 1.4 key passes per game. That's fantastic. I think exactly what we need. We don't have anybody in midfield bar Bruno and Ericsson who can provide that. So I think that's fantastic stat. Accurate per game, 50.6%. In your own half, 89%. Oh, no, sorry. Accurate per game, 81%, 50.6. And then in their own half, 89%. And then in the opposition half, this is the key one, 75%. So it's not quite as good as Brozovic. What was he on? 80?
84?
Yeah.
I think it was 84, something like that.
Yeah. So not quite as good as Brozovic, but still pretty decent for like a midfielder, I think. And then we'll just look at I'll have a look at his defending stats. Obviously, it's not really as relevant as I think the attacking stats as, but let's just have a gander at him anyway. So 0.9 interceptions per game, 1.8 tackles per game, which is quite interesting for a forward, like thinking player. 1.8 tackles per game, that's not bad.
Certainly gets about, doesn't it?
Yeah, possession 0.7, dribble pass per game only once, but again, he's playing higher up, so it's probably going to happen to him a little bit less than it would be, say, for Neves or for Brozovic or something like that. Successful dribbles, 58%, 1.2. Total duels, 152%. Ground duels, 148%. Aerial duels, 59%. Again, aerial duels is one of his strengths. He does have a bit of a yellow card record. He had 4 yellow cards. So maybe a little bit of a worry in terms of sort of getting set off. But he only had 1 red. So that's not too
Ruben
bad.
Neves has got about 9 on here. So.
I was going to say, yeah. So that would be the only thing I would say. For me, the weaknesses I would see is untested in the Premier League. He's been in Serie A pretty much his entire career. Again, like I said, with Brozovic, he gets more time on the ball. You get more time to sort of compose, pick out what you're going to do. You're not going to get that in the Premier League, so his stats might take a hit there. 27, obviously a little bit older than Ruben Neves, but I think you get him in his prime, so it would probably cost a premium rather than going for a player who's just about to hit the prime. It might cost you a little bit less. So I think the rumours are, was it 55, 60 million we're looking to pay for him? Something around that. So again, high price, but I think it's a deal we could do. I think that's a deal we could definitely do. Whereas Ruben Neves, I think, would take a lot to get him out of there. Brozovic probably take a lot to get him out. I think we could probably get this Savic deal done. I don't think it's that hard of a deal to do. I think he wants to come. I think we've got the cash to do it, especially if De Jong doesn't happen. I think that's an easy deal to do. Other than that, I can't think of any sort of weaknesses to it. If he was the only one to come in, then I would be worried. I'd be worried about what would happen if he's the only one to come in, because obviously we need a defensive-minded midfielder alongside him, which is why I'm saying Neves and him. Obviously that is going to cost you, so if Neves is 70 million, 50 million, 120 million, it's quite a bit of money, especially for 2 midfielders. But if Frankie de Jong's not happy, which was looking at about 80 million, then we've got an extra 40 million. We can, if we hopefully sell some players, or maybe the Glazers can get the fingers out of their arse and get some cash into the bloody team, that'd be helpful. I think it's a very doable deal for me. Give me your thoughts, Nick, on Milinkovic-Savic.
Well, I think his agent would definitely do the deal. He's thirsty as fuck. Every single year we get linked with him, and he's trying to push that story. It happened at the start of the window as well, when there wasn't actually genuine links. Now it seems a little bit more serious, because I feel like if we didn't get De Jong, I think we would definitely go in for him, and I think we'd probably get him for 50, 60 million. It'd be a very quick deal to do. Going back to what you touched on before about it doesn't always translate from Serie A to the Premier League. You've got multiple different situations. So, for example, Jorginho, when he went from, I think it was Napoli to Chelsea, obviously been a mainstay there, been a quality player for them. But then you've also had situations where we signed Veron from the Italian league, and remember what happened with Sebastian Veron, just didn't work out, even though he was a mega talented player. So excited.
Pretty
sure, did Veron come from Lazio as well?
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure it was Lazio.
Yeah. He went to Chelsea.
Similar.
Went to Chelsea as well, didn't he, after United?
Yeah. So you never know. Sometimes, again, you just have to take that risk and see what happens. I like him as a player. Look, if you're getting 11 assists and 11 goals as a box-to-box, that's a really good return. And if you can add them numbers to our team, then you're elevating it up a level. I think he's a good player. I'd obviously still prefer De Jong, but that's ongoing. We don't know where that situation is going to go. We could get to the end of the window, and if he says, right, De Jong's staying at Barca, or there's a court thing and it's going to go on, it's going to drag on, let's just go get Milinkovic-Savic. Let's go do it. So yeah, I haven't got many negative concerns with him. Just it translating to the Premier League, and yeah, he's better than what we've got in it. Much better than what we've got, not just better than what we've got.
Yeah, it's a quite a high upgrade rather than just slightly better in the terms of like Adrian Rabiot or something like that. A couple of comments and then we'll let you do yours. Hi from Peter Moran. How's it going, Peter? Ashley Dallow, good thing is we're all building a bond with you guys. It's becoming stronger every day, virtual but still strong. I love the channel and all you guys. Hope we can meet one day. Yeah, hopefully meet one day. Thank you for the kind words. I used to listen to other channels, but I was always wait for yours. Channel is best, only channel I listen to live. Always stay like you are, guys. You're going places. A lot of love in the chat from Ashley Dallow. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. Appreciate the comments and the compliments. Nick, why don't you give us your midfielder?
Yeah, so my second option would be Yuri Tielemans, 25 years old, plays in the pivot for Leicester City alongside Ndidi. Premier League proven. I usually don't like using them words, but he's done very well in the Premier League since he's transferred from Monaco. Cost probability, you're probably looking at about 25 to 30 million because he's got 1 year left on his contract, so relatively easy deal to do as well. I think he'd work really well under Erik ten Hag. I think he can play multiple positions. He's versatile in midfield, so Ten Hag would love him on that. He usually plays as like the free roaming pivot for Leicester, but a lot of his contributions of late have come from deep. So again, that shows his versatility. Highly intelligent, technically gifted, which we do not have in our midfield at all, as I'm sure you're all aware of. Very composed in high pressure situations. He shifts it quickly, and a lot of his output, sometimes there's a misconception of midfielders when they're looking at the passing accuracy and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's 95%, but like McTominay's and Lindelof's pass accuracy in the Atletico game, let's say for example, were about 90-95%, and it's because it was going back and forth. But a lot of Tielemans' passes are vertical and in behind, because they've got players like Jamie Vardy, who obviously on the last man, probably the best striker in the Premier League. Players like Iheanacho, who like to run in behind. He plays them vertical passes all the time. So that is something that we definitely need. Like you were saying before, with Ronaldo running in behind Rashford, Sancho, I feel like he'd be a perfect asset for that. He's great on both feet, has a deadly shot, which we was on the other end of. I think you remember that goal he scored, that wonderful goal he scored against us because of Maguire. Had an absolute fucking mess up. His job for Leicester predominantly is linking up play from defence to attack and being that, kind of creative outlet for them. So I don't know about you lot or anyone who's watching. When I was going, looking at him as a player, watching him, he just ticks every single box. I'm like, yeah, we need that. Yes, we need that. Yes, we need that. I think the price tag as well. I am so surprised, Sam, that we haven't even had a sniff around it. No. I've not seen any links whatsoever. I've not even seen any other club. I know Arsenal have had a few links with him and talked to him, but
it seems weird that nobody's come in for him. It's very, very weird how it's
I don't get it.
Decent price. He wants to leave. He's not signing a new deal, so you get him for cheap, and nobody's come in for him. Like absolutely nobody. It's strange. It's very strange.
I just want to touch on some stats as well. So, he has the second most touches per 90 of any Leicester players over 1,000 minutes. That's at 76.5 touches per game. He's also the most commonly targeted player to pass in the squad with 58.8 targets per 90. So that's how influential he is to Leicester. Obviously, Leicester last season had a bit of a fall off.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but sometimes you can't just put that down to one player. That's a team. And this season they haven't recruited anyone. They've lost a few players. They've lost players to injury.
They might be losing Fofana as well, which is another blow.
Exactly. He's probably looking to get out. In build-up play as well, he has a tendency to switch the play to find teammates in space and evade the press, which he does 2.44 times per 90, leading his team into dangerous attacks. And in defence, Tielemans offers ample support with intelligent positioning. He looks to capitalise on aggression of his partner, indeed, with recoveries and efficiency. So this is why I think he'd work really well with Brozovic, because Brozovic is the boss. He'll be the anchor in that. But you've got Tielemans floating around him in different positions, using his intelligence to pick up second balls, grab the ball, play that instant vertical pass. You've got runners in behind. I think them two would complement each other really well. And when you talk about partners in a pivot, the reason why Kimmich and Goretzka or Modric and Casemiro, the reason why they work so well is because they complement each other's qualities. Yeah. Casemiro is more of a destroyer who can win the ball back, but then you've got Modric, who's a wonderful ball carrier, can dictate play, very creative outlet for Real Madrid. So there's balance again in the midfield. We have two, let's be honest, clowns in midfield who don't complement each other whatsoever. They have similar ability, and it's a calamitous. So someone like Tielemans and Brozovic would work really well. However, if De Jong was available, I would have De Jong and Brozovic. Let's just put that out there because we've spoken about De Jong so much. Sometimes you have to look at alternatives because it's just completely dragging on.
United should have been looking at alternatives about how long we were? 13 weeks. They should have been looking about 6 weeks ago.
A contingency plan, isn't it? If you every team does it. If you can't get your main target, you have one below. Yeah. And now we're just like, who's available, panicking, rushing about everywhere. It doesn't make sense.
It's fucking stupid. Let us know who you would pick in the chat. Let us know if you go with Brozovic and Tielemans, or if you go with Milinkovic, Savic and Neves. Let us know who you would pick. Leave it in the comments if you're watching this on the VOD as well. Let us know who you pick. Couple of comments. Hashley Dalla, what do you think of a centre-back partnership of Varane and Bailly and play Martinez and Garner instead of McFred? Nick?
I don't think Ten Hag would do it because I feel like the reason he brought in Lisandro was to be that ball-playing centre-back. I think you take him out of that. Yes, Varane and Bailly are okay on the ball, but they're not Lisandro level, so I don't feel like he would separate that. I feel like Lisandro's going to be a mainstay at centre-back, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Varane and Bailly, you're not going to play every week because one of them's going to get injured or both at some point. So
no
it's
consistency
just
there at all.
It's not happening, is it? If we're not buying players, let us just promote youngsters. At least they'll play for the badge within 2 seasons. Yeah, no, I agree with your point that the fact that they will play for the badge, but to put that pressure on young players who've not... Garner aside, I think Garner would be fine because he's played a season of championship football for a team. I think he'd be all right. But people like Zidane Iqbal and Charlie Savage, they're too young. It's too much to put that pressure on them to basically perform in a league they've never played in against men. Let's face it, they're kids. They're 17, 18 years old. Yeah. It's not fair to put that pressure on them. It's just going to restrict their improvement and their growth over the next couple of years to develop into good players. I don't think that's fair to put it on them. I get what you mean, but it's not fair to put it on them at this point. Bleed them slowly into cup games, let them go out on loan like they have done with Garner. I think that's the way to develop these players. Is there any truth to the Savic deal? As far as I know, there's legitimate people who are reporting on it. Whether it happens or not, I don't know, but there seems to be legitimate reports. Obviously, it's been going on for years. Might just be agent-led, but we'll see what happens.
I think it's a backup to De Jong. I think if we don't get De Jong, you'll see us put a bid in for Savic, my opinion.
Brian Mann, very true. Midfield a mess. Yeah, I agree with you, mate, completely. If there's no other questions in the chat, no other comments, I can't see any. I think we're all good. Let us know what you think of the video in the comments below. Stick a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I think we're on... Let me just double check what we're on right now. Let me have a look.
On 361, man.
We're on 361. 361. So yeah, if you're on 361 right now, if you get to like 370 before the end of the week, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see that happen just before the Brentford game. Let that happen. Follow all the socials below. We're on TikTok. We had a really cool video blow up on TikTok, so go check that out on the on Ralph Ragnick, who was talking about what United needed, and then he ultimately got sacked. So go check that out on our TikTok. It's on like 175k at the minute. 190k. So yeah, go check that out and follow the TikTok while you're there. Follow the Twitch for all the gaming. It's been a bit quiet recently, but I'm going to try and get some gaming on there again. Follow the Twitter for all your latest news updates. Dan, who's in the chat, I think, runs that, and with Shreyas, minute-to-minute updates, all the latest transfer news, all the latest news. Go follow that. And then follow the Instagram. It's run by me and Nick. All the videos from the clips and the shows, all the stuff with the news, and then any graphics about the shows that are coming up. Nick, what shows are coming up this week?
What day? We said on Wednesday. Yeah. So tomorrow we've got Eric Ten Hag career mode with me and Adam, always 8 o'clock.
Correct yourself.
Thursdays.
Correct yourself.
Eric Ten Hag, sorry, 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Me and Adam have a bit of a whisker, a bit of a sing, bit of a dance. It's it's fun. So make sure you join us for that. Friday we'll have the Brentford preview, so we'll have some of the lads on for that. Probably about 3 or 4 of us discussing that game. And then Saturday we'll have actually Brentford game, which is away, and that's I think the kickoff's 5:30.
Yeah, late kickoff.
Like so we'll have a watch along for that. We'll be live for the team lineup. And then Sunday we'll probably do something fun like a TikTok live or something along the lines of that. So
Twitch or something
every single day, relentless.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Nick. Thank you for everybody in the chat for watching. Appreciate all the love and the comments and stuff like that. So it's great to see this channel grow. And yeah, if you know anybody's into football and anybody's a United fan, share it with them, get them to subscribe, let us know how it's going. And then check us out tomorrow for Eric Ten Hag career mode. Anything else to say, Nick, before we go?
No, I just hope this club gets bought. I hope it gets taken over, and I hope the Glazers leave. But so it's hope at the minute.
Glazers out. Peace, everyone.
Glazers out. Peace.